On June 18, 2020, the U.S. Supreme Court issued its DACA decision. The Supreme Court did not uphold DACA, so this cannot be considered a victory. Instead, what the Supreme Court stated was the Trump administration did not properly rescind or terminate DACA. In other words, they acted arbitrarily or capriciously. The Trump administration can really go back and refile to terminate or rescind DACA. In this video, I'm going to go through the decision. Now, it is very lengthy, it is complex, there are many legal and procedural technicalities, but I'm going to explain in plain English as to what this decision stands for and some of the things that can be done for the DACA applicants in the meantime. In its ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court specifically stated that rescinding DACA is allowed, as they state in the decision. The dispute before the court is not whether DHS may rescind DACA. All parties agree that it may. The dispute is instead primarily about the procedure the agency followed in doing so. The Supreme Court further stated in its opinion, "We do not decide whether DACA or its rescission are sound policies. We address only whether the agency complied with the procedural requirement that it provide a reasoned explanation for its actions. Here, the agency failed to consider the conspicuous issues of whether to refrain forbearance and what, if anything, to do about the hardship to DACA recipients." Basically, what happened was, in 2012, then President Obama initiated the DACA program. 5 years later, in 2017, after Trump was elected and vowed to rescind DACA, DHS issued a memo formally rescinding DACA. Lawsuits were filed and then court opinions were issued by lower courts commenting upon the reasonings in that 2017 memo for rescinding. Then the next year in 2018, DHS issued a second memo adding or supplementing additional reasons for rescinding DACA. Now, that was the issue with the Supreme Court as to whether DACA could be rescinded in 2017 and then later on add additional reasons the following year. The U.S. Supreme Court stated no. If DHS was going to rescind DACA, they had to rely on the original memo for justification. They could not later amend or supplement or add new reasoning. What they should have done, according to the Supreme Court, was to file or submit a brand new memo. In other words, rather than trying to salvage the 2017 memo, they should have just filed a brand new memo with all the reasonings and start anew. In other words, as the Supreme Court stated in its opinion, DHS could have dealt with the problem afresh by taking new agency action. So, had DHS filed a brand new memo listing all the legitimate reasons, then maybe the decision could have been different. So what can happen now is that the Trump administration has vowed to rescind DACA. They can now, after this decision, come up with a brand new memo listing all the justifications and reasoning for rescinding DACA, and perhaps that would be successful. And so what DACA applicants can do is, first of all, maybe there are ways by which a DACA applicant could be eligible already for a green card. Now remember, DACA is not a pathway to a green card. All that DACA does is postpones or defers deportation or removal and allows the person to remain in the U.S. with a work authorization. It does not result in a green card. But maybe there are ways now by which a DACA applicant could apply for a green card. For example, they have work authorizations. Maybe their employer is willing to petition them, assuming they could be eligible to adjust status in the U.S. or eligible for a provisional waiver. Maybe in the meantime, they have married a U.S. citizen. That's why they should seek the advice of an attorney at this time to see if there are other options. But the Supreme Court's decision does not provide a victory. It's just a temporary reprieve. And also, in my opinion, I do blame Congress. Congress is to blame. Instead of these poor DACA recipients living in uncertainty and fear, relying on DACA, where is Congress with the DREAM Act? I mean, that was what DACA was all about in the beginning. President Obama was frustrated with Congress because they did not pass the DREAM Act, so DACA was like a temporary type of DREAM Act. When Trump wanted to rescind DACA, he stated that he would do so within 6 months, or gave a 6-month grace period to give Congress time to pass the DREAM Act, and they did not. So it really is up to Congress to come forward with the DREAM Act. In the meantime, we will continue to keep you posted about developments. And what I've tried to do with this complex Supreme Court decision is basically show you what the reasoning was, what the issues were about. And just basically they said the Trump administration has the right and ability to rescind DACA. It's just that they did not do it the right way the first time. And Trump may now go back and do it right this time. If you like this video, if you find it informative, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Michael Gurfinkel, and this is U.S. Immigration TV.